Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tom Bentey, the Tom Bentey Media Podcast. And I am a filmmaker, I am an actor, and I'm a communications professor. I have been teaching communications at the college level for over a decade, and I want to share my passion with communications with the audience. And I think in the time of AI that we are living in, it is ever important to understand human communication, how we can really elevate those skills and make that connection on a real, meaningful human level with individuals in groups and also one on one. So, a good way to do that, which I've mentioned in the past, is to evaluate other speakers. And in this video, I'd like to reference two amazing men, amazing speakers, very intelligent, very gifted individuals. But they have very different views and very different speaking styles. Talking about a similar topic, similar ideas, but at the same time, they're executing it in very different ways. And the content of their execution and the content of what they're talking about could not be more different. And I want to tell you my take on it as well. So we're going to watch two videos, we're going to evaluate them, and then I'm going to give you my personal perspective on what's being talked about and my personal take on the subject at hand. So first, we're going to look at Scott Galloway. He's a very intelligent professor. He's all over the internet, very popular among younger people, and he has some really great ideas. And in this next video, which is very prominent online and has been talked about and evaluated extensively, but here he talks about how young people should really focus on not necessarily their passion, forget their passion. Let's focus on things that can make them money and things that they're good at. And he goes about it in a way that really is very direct. It's very concrete, and it just lays down the facts. And here, let's watch this video and then talk about it.
Follow your passion. What utter bullshit. If someone tells you to follow your passion, it means they're already rich. And typically the guy on stage telling you to follow your passion made his billions in iron ore smelting. This is your job. Your job is to find something you're good at and then spend the thousands of hours and apply the grit and the perseverance and the sacrifice and the willingness to break through hard things to become great at it. Because once you're great at something, the economic accoutrements of being great at something, the prestige, the relevance, the camaraderie, the self-worth of being great will make you passionate about whatever it is. No one grows up thinking, I'm passionate about tax law, but the best tax lawyers in this nation fly private and have a much broader selection of mates than they deserve.
All right. So as you can see, there's really, it's a very direct style of communication. I wouldn't say it's emotional. I would not say it's a style of communication that tugs at our heartstrings or brings about empathy or compassion. It's like, these are the facts, and this is how it's going to affect your life in real and meaningful ways. And it's gaining a lot of traction online. A lot of people are really resonating with this message. And you can see it in his speaking style too. It not only is it direct, but his tone is very just prominent. His eyesight, his eye contact is also very direct. We can see by his facial expressions that he means business, and that this is not something to make light of. This is not something where there's leeway with. This is not something that we can really make a joke about. Like, these are the facts. This is how it's going to affect your life. And we can see that in his tone, in the way that he carries himself, in his body language, and also in the content that's being showcased. So here now, let's talk about another video. We have Jim Carrey, obviously world famous actor and comedian, known for not only being funny, but if you take a look at some of his dramatic roles, Truman Show, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I mean, just an incredibly gifted performer and actor and comedian. And he's talking about something similar to young people. So here he is back in 2014, I believe, at Maharashi University. And he's talking to the graduating class, and he's saying, you can fail at what you're not good at. You could fail at what you don't want to do. And he references his father's story, who was an incredibly gifted comedian, apparently, according to Jim Carrey, even more gifted than himself, but he decided to become an accountant. And at midlife, at 50 years old, what happens? He loses his job unexpectedly. And let's watch this story, and let's watch how Jim Carrey relates those themes to his speaking style, to his tone, to his body language, to his eye contact, to the way that he connects with an audience.
You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant, and when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
So as you can see throughout the speech, Jim Carrey, incredibly gifted as he is, can go back and forth between comedy, between humor, and also very serious information. I mean, what happened to his father was an incredibly detrimental part of their growing up, and had a huge impact on their lives. And we could see that in the way that he empathizes with that story, and he relates the information to the audience. And we can see the passion in his voice as well, and just how much this means to him in the way that he connects with the audience, in his tone, in his body language, in his eye contact. And the story that he outlines, incredibly different from Mr. Galloway, but he's talking about essentially the same subject. What should young people do when you're graduating college, when you're coming into your own? Like, what's the right path? And Jim Carrey has a very different explanation for these young people, for these young graduates. He says, you know what? You can fail at what you don't want to do. You can fail at, and quote unquote, the safe route. And that's exactly what happened to his father. And he didn't want to see young people go through the same type of situation. So for me, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mr. Scott Galloway. And I think everyone's story is unique to to themselves and to their own journey. But for me, what makes a lot more sense, what resonates with me as an audience member, and what's interesting about communications and about speeches is that just like a piece of artwork is going to resonate different with individuals and audiences, so is speeches. And while Scott Galloway's speech is going to resonate with certain individuals and certain audiences, for me, Jim Carrey's speech talking about the similar topic of what you should do with your life really resonates with me, because as I see in my own perspective, in 2025, there just doesn't seem to be many safe routes. And the safe route is really just not cutting it, because the cost of living, in my experience, is incredibly high. So in generations past, you could get a job doing something, whatever, just a standard job, graduating college, you get a job, you're contributing to society. Maybe it's in the field that you want to be in, maybe it's not, but you could have a decent standard of living and a decent life. Today, it seems like that either you are an incredibly wealthy person or you're barely getting by. It doesn't seem like there's much in between. And so this notion that you should take the safe route, I just don't know what that safe route is, because those quote unquote safer jobs aren't really paying what they used to pay, or at least in comparison to what the cost of living is. So it's just hard to make ends meet. And in today's world too, like, you can lose your job at any time and at any moment. So it's not like that you're going to get a job and you're going to stick with it for the rest of your life and you're going to get that stability. That's, I'm sure, certain situations that's the case, but in a lot of situations it's not. With the economy, with the changing technology, I mean, people are losing their jobs left and right. and what they thought was something that could carry them for the rest of their lives. A lot of times in today's age, it's not. So, what makes more sense to me as an audience member, based on my experiences and my outlook, is Jim Carrey's. Like, you could lose there really is no safe jobs. Like, whether you're working at a convenience store, whether you decide to get some sort of degree, things change, and that degree that you have might be meaningless. So you might as well focus on something that you have a real passion for and something that you feel like you can contribute with. Because if you're going to take the quote unquote safe route, that might just not cut it. Now, what Scott Galloway's talking about is, yes, if you are a tax attorney, it might not be the most sexy thing in the world, but if you're in that top 1%, you're going to make a lot of money and you're really going to be on the upper echelon of society. But again, you're only in the top 1%. So if you're going to be the top 1% of an attorney, you might as well be in the top 1%, in my view, as a creative, because it's still kind of the same thing, in my view, right? So he's talking about tax attorneys, he's talking about an attorney, but it's really only the top percent of those professions that are making most of the money. Because there's a lot of people that are graduating with these degrees that just aren't making the money that they thought they would or that they used to. So I don't know. There really is no right answer with this, but I think it's a great comparison to look at these two amazing individuals, these amazing intellects, these amazing men, and analyze the way that they reference a very similar situation. What should young people do when they graduate college? And as you can see, they have an incredibly different view of the topic. And not only that, we can see that not only what they say, but how they say it. Mr. Galloway, very direct, very concrete. There's not much empathy there. There's not much sensitivity there. It's just the facts. And this is how it's going to correlate to your life in very real and meaningful ways. With Jim Carrey, being the amazing actor comedian that he is, he can go back and forth between comedy and humor, and also that touching element, that empathy, that personal story about his father that connects with the audience on an incredibly emotional way, and resonate that theme of pursuing your passion, not disavowing it, pursuing your passion, because we only have one life, and the things that we thought might be safe a lot of times can turn out to be taken from us, like it did for his father. So again, for me, Jim Carrey, love him, actor, comedian. That message, that meaning, that theme, also that style of presentation really resonates with me. Scott Galloway, incredibly smart, love his content, love his take on a lot of things. But here I feel he's a little, or at least for me, it doesn't resonate. So I want to ask the audience, what about you? Which speaking style do you like better? Direct, like Mr. Galloway, or do you like the back and forth between comedy, empathy, humor, sensitivity? And also, what do you think? Do you think that young people, if you are a young person, does it make more sense to focus on something that you can really, really make a lot of money with, that is quote unquote more traditional, like becoming a tax attorney, as Mr. Galloway says? Or do you feel like that's not really resonating with you, and you like what Jim Carrey says, focus on your passion, because the safe route might not be that safe? Let me know what you think in the comments, and give me some other speeches that I can evaluate and we could talk about messaging, theme, the way that they present the information, their body language. How does this all relate to what they're saying, and everything behind it? So let me know some great speeches. I hope to hear from you, and thank you for checking out this video.